Hello, Feuzion. My name is Alex Fuse, the host of Fusion News, and we have another great show for you right now. I am on the phone with the Emerson College student, journalism student, Ryan Ribeiro, and he was actually at the Boston Red Sox victory parade yesterday in Boston, as well as me. And Ryan, I think we can share the same experience. I'm a Yankee fan, so yesterday was kind of an event that, as a Yankee fan, you hope you never have to deal with in your lifetime ever again. And I joke with my dad. I'm saying this, hopefully this is my last victory parade for the Red Sox ever in my lifetime yesterday. And, it was a great event. I have to say, even though I'm a Yankee fan, it was a great event. What did you think of the event personally?
Yeah, I thought, and first of all, thank you for having me on. I thought yesterday was phenomenal. I had never been to a championship parade before, so I really didn't know what to expect. I was up at 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday just trying to get ready to actually cover the event for the school's TV station. And, standing out there 3 hours before anyone even walked by us to get their spot, you're thinking, man, this has a really big chance of being underwhelming and being a really long, rough day. But the second the parade started, the second people started filing in, it was an unreal experience. It's something that, honestly, from the standpoint of just reporting on, I probably will never forget. That was definitely the best experience I've had sports-wise in my life. And just the excitement of the city. I'm a Mets fan, so life as a baseball fan is kind of rough. But that celebration, I kind of felt like I was adopted by the city yesterday, and just that I wanted to jump in with everyone and start chanting everything that was coming out of their mouths, and just the confetti drop, everyone just jumping around, being excited to see David Price, Nate Eovaldi, all those guys who brought them a championship. It was an incredible experience. Like I said, something I will definitely never forget.
Ryan, like I said at the beginning of the show, you're from Emerson College, and I'm from Dean College. It's about 45 minutes outside of Boston, so we don't exactly have the luxury of being right outside of the parade route. But what we do have is we have a train station right outside of Dean. It's a 5-minute walk from my dorm. So I just hopped on the train. I can relate to you yesterday. The train left at 6:35 in the morning, and we got on the first train. So I made sure to get up at 5:30 a.m. yesterday. So that was a lot of fun. But just getting down into Boston, we had breakfast at Mike's City Diner, and then we walked about 20 minutes to get to Boylston Ave or Boylston Street, and then we got front row seats right for the parade. And it was a great time. And I know, like you said about David Price, and what the Red Sox and David Price said yesterday was David Price is not opting out of his contract, and he's staying in Boston. And just how crucial is that for the Boston Red Sox, knowing that David Price, one of the biggest turning points and biggest team players this offseason or in the playoffs, is staying with his Red Sox team for the next coming years?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And just because when you saw Chris Sale go down this season, they really relied on David Price to come in and try and be the number one, and he did a phenomenal job at that. Last year with the Red Sox and kind of the last few years of his career have been up and down, inconsistent. He really hasn't been the same David Price that you saw with Tampa, the Cy Young winning David Price. And this year was the first time that you kind of saw a glimpse of the talent that David Price really has as a pitcher and as a potential number one on his staff when he's right. And he was a huge part in this team's postseason push as well. I mean, we talk about the regular season, but the postseason was really about, for the Red Sox, guys who didn't really make that big of a name for themselves in the regular season, stepping up and making a run with this team and allowing them to push past teams like the Yankees, the Astros, and ultimately beat the Dodgers to win the World Series. No one would have thought guys like Ian Kinsler, I know he had that error in, I think it was Game 3 against the Dodgers, but he was great. He was great for them at second base when they needed him to step in for Pedroia. Rafael Devers in Game 5 with that just unreal play at third base to throw out Manny Machado. And Steve Pearce, I mean, this was a deadline acquisition for a guy who's in his mid-30s and on the back end of his career has never really had that big of a name in baseball. Step up and be the MVP of the World Series. So for someone like David Price to kind of step in and be the man of the pitching staff throughout the postseason was huge for them. And it's huge that he loves this city that much. This city has rallied around him. I mean, I would say that he was probably the highlight of the parade for a lot of people yesterday, and that they were just excited to see him roll through. You know, it's something that you kind of sit back and think, like, maybe this is the David Price that we will continue to see, the one that we saw in Tampa, and now maybe this is kind of like a revival of his career here in Boston. And I'm excited for it. Like I said, not a Red Sox fan, just, you know, a baseball fan. From a baseball fan's perspective, I'm very excited to see what David Price can bring to the city for the next few years. You know, there's speculation that he might opt out of his contract and where he'll go. I don't see it. I think he's staying in Boston. He's here for the long haul. He wants to win another one, and he wants to do it for the fans. And the fans are more than happy with that, for him to stick around.
Yeah, Ryan, I definitely agree with you about David Price. And you brought up some of the key players on this Red Sox team. You bring up Steve Pearce, you bring up Nathan Eovaldi, you bring up Ian Kinsler, and especially David Price, Chris Sale, you know, all those great guys. But a lot of those guys are actually going to be free agents. You look at Steve Pearce, Ian Kinsler, and Nathan Eovaldi. Those are the top three players besides Ian Kinsler's error in Game 3. Those three free agents are going to be very crucial for the Red Sox and any other team. I said this as a Yankee fan. If the Yankees had Eovaldi and Pearce, they would be playing in the World Series and possibly win the World Series. So it's just insane to think about from a baseball fan's perspective. These two players that weren't really very well known, like an MVP caliber player going throughout the regular season, that these two players or three players could be crucial to adding them onto your team after the trade deadline. So knowing that, how crucial is it out of the three? If you're the Red Sox GM, who do you want to resign most out of those three?
Yeah, I think it's definitely Eovaldi. You know, Price is the guy who's staying. And then, you know, you look at that, and I look at the other guys, and I think it's Eovaldi, because you look at guys like Ian Kinsler, you look at guys like Steve Pearce, and these are guys on the back end of their career. And I don't want to say that it was a fluke, because I really don't believe too much in flukes in baseball. You have to have some talent. But these guys are older, and you look at teams who have kind of made a run in years past. I'll bring it back to my Mets just because that's the easy example I can give to you. They made, other than the Yoenis Cespedes trade they made in 2015, they also made a trade for Juan Uribe and Kelly Johnson. And they had Kirk Neuenhuis. They brought him up from AAA. And those three guys were key throughout the season, and just kind of keeping things together, keeping that locker room, you know, tight and together. And you saw their impact as the season moved on. And I think that's exactly what guys like Ian Kinsler and Steve Pearce brought. They brought leadership, and they brought consistency. And I'm not sure that you can count on that from them for, you know, years moving forward, which is why I would say they're probably least likely to come back, only because, you know, Steve Pearce is a World Series MVP, and he's in his mid-30s. I think maybe another team who's a little bit more desperate would offer him more money than the Red Sox are willing to pay. And, you know, good for him, but I don't think the Red Sox really need him at this point. They need, you know, maybe younger talent and try and build depth that way. But I would say it's Nathan Eovaldi. You saw his performance in Game 3. They ended up losing that game, sure, but to give you 7 incredibly strong innings out of the bullpen and extra innings in that game is absolutely phenomenal. The reason that the Red Sox lost that game is because they just could not score. They could not get any offense going, and it was, you know, ultimately down to, you know, if Nathan Eovaldi makes one bad pitch, then this game is over, and that's exactly what happened when he threw that ball to Max Muncy. So I think Nathan Eovaldi is most definitely the guy that you want to keep around. He's got, you know, a great fastball. He's got great stuff. He's only 29 years old. He's the guy that you're going to want to keep around, keep on the staff, keep that pitching core together with Price, Sale, Eovaldi, and Porcello, and you move forward with that. Like I said, Kinsler, Pearce, those guys were great, but I don't know how much longer you can lean on them in terms of, you know, getting production out of them. They did great this year, and they'll always be remembered for that in the city, but I don't know if they exactly are the future and if they're in the Red Sox plans, and I would completely understand if they're not.
Yeah, Ryan, you bring up a great point about the Mets and having, you know, those key locker room guys. And I think one of the main reasons why the Yankees last season kind of were a surprising team. They made it one game close to the World Series. They lost that game against the Houston Astros, who went on to win the World Series. But one of the main guys in that role for the Yankees was Todd Frazier. He, of course, is now with the Mets, and he was one of the biggest guys in just locker room, just knowing he's a seasonal veteran in the MLB, knowing how to, what is needed for a great team to become even better, and just really one of those great locker room guys, kind of like almost CC Sabathia or Brett Gardner now for the Yankees. And I was asked today, where do you want Machado to go? And I said the Yankees, and I feel like as a Yankee fan, I actually want Manny Machado. And Manny Machado really got a bad name to it, bad rep to his name, because he said there's no need to hustle. There's a lot of question marks about Manny Machado and hustling now, and especially the dirtiness slides going into the playoffs and the World Series games and everything. And yes, I get it. But look what he adds to that lineup for the Dodgers. The Dodgers would have not been playing in that World Series game if it wasn't for Manny Machado. And I think him being added to the Yankee roster and Yankee lineup, I think could be crucial for the Yankees. And they are missing one of those big contact hitters. Yes, Manny Machado hits home runs, but he also hits doubles. He gets hits when guys are on base. He hits doubles, singles, triples, whatever needed to get those runs in. That's what's missing from the Yankees lineup, and I think Manny Machado is going to be crucial. Do you agree with Manny Machado going to New York, if possible, if you're Brian Cashman, or do you want him even going to the Mets?
I would say no to both of those, only because I think what Manny Machado doesn't add, and what Manny Machado has never added in his career, is the ability to lead. He's got a phenomenal bat, you mentioned, yes. He's got a phenomenal glove. But I think his lack of effort, and I think his just general attitude, around playing baseball. I'm not saying he doesn't love playing baseball. He absolutely does. It's just, I think his lack of effort and just sometimes questionable decision-making that, leads people to call him dirty doesn't exactly resonate well with the teams that he's been on. When he went to the Dodgers, it was all about, he adds this great piece to this lineup, but doesn't exactly bring the Dodgers together. I think what the Dodgers needed was someone to come in and say, hey, we can do this. We do have the ability. We do have the talent in this lineup. Because I looked at that Dodgers lineup before Manny Machado got traded there, and I thought, this is an incredible team. I don't know how they're not playing better. I don't know how it took them to, game 163 to clinch this division. And I think it comes back to, you need guys in the locker room to bring them together. And I think that's what you saw with the Red Sox. The Red Sox had problems with John Farrell as manager. They didn't have a leader. They had all this talent already last year, but they didn't have a leader to string it all together. And then when they got that with Alex Cora, when they got that with JD Martinez, obviously he's got a great bat too. But when you string guys together who want to be there, who have great chemistry, who can lead a team that's already talented, you see the wonders that it can do in terms of, winning a playoff series, having a future, winning a championship. And I don't know if Manny Machado actually adds that to the Yankees. I think the Yankees' biggest problem is pitching, especially behind Luis Severino. Their bullpen is phenomenal, but in terms of starting pitching, the Yankees that's not really a strength of them. Putting him at shortstop, I don't think really does anything. I think Didi Gregorius is a more than capable shortstop for New York. You've got Andujar at third base, Gleyber Torres at second. It's an already good and formidable infield and lineup in New York, and I don't think that's the problem. And I would, I could say that I see him as a very good fit talent-wise with the Mets, but, I just don't want a player like that on one of my teams. I think he's burned some bridges in the MLB, and he's kind of burned my fanhood of him. I've always loved and appreciated him as a player, but the more and more I tend to watch him, the more and more I think he doesn't really care all that much about what his teammates think, about what the fans think, and just kind of plays the game for himself. And I'm not about that, and I think that the Mets especially have missed leadership throughout these last few years since they've been in the World Series. David Wright's been hurt; he hasn't been able to be there and lead that team, and we need someone to step in. The Mets need someone to step in and be able to lead that team, and I don't think Manny Machado is that. He, again, is a great talent and would add a lot to that lineup. But there's more to baseball than talent, and I think you saw that, and you continue to see that with the teams that he's on and their inability to win.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said, especially the leadership in New York. And I said on Twitter, I know we got to wrap up the interview quickly, and then we're going to talk about Emerson College before we wrap up the show. But just to make my point here, the leadership skill in New York with the Yankees, I feel that if Joe Girardi was a manager this season, I think the Yankees would have went farther, and especially maybe even won more games. I think Joe Girardi got cut short, and I think he was really cheated out of this Yankee team, especially knowing, look, with the team that he had last season, he made it one game close to the World Series, and the roster improved so much more, especially adding an MVP caliber player in Giancarlo Stanton. He was not given the opportunity to kind of have those guys, especially when you look at the bullpen in the lineup. And I feel kind of bad for Joe Girardi that he never really was given that opportunity. But the last question I want to ask you, Ryan, is you're an Emerson College journalism student, and you really like sports broadcasting. So, what really drives you in this career path for you, knowing, okay, this is what I want to do for a living?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I came here, I originally wanted to be in the print side of things, write, report. And this college just has so much to offer. I got involved in the TV station, WEBN. That's, why I was out yesterday reporting on the parade. I've been granted the opportunity to have my own sports talk radio show, Colbert and Dubs. And we've kind of taken a whole new approach to what we do and what sports talk radio show actually can be. The videos and social media, blogging on top of, our studio days throughout the week. I would say, when you're passionate about something, when you love something as much as I do, with sports and talking about it and articulating, my analysis of it and, what I like about, the game, there's nothing that beats that. There's, if I can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and be amped up to cover a parade, I think I'll be just fine. And, it's an incredible experience here. I don't think I can really put into words, the amount of opportunities you get being a journalism student here at Emerson College. It's phenomenal. I don't know if I can really say much more about that. It's just I'm very passionate about sports, and this college offers so many opportunities to just get involved and see what you like. And I've loved pretty much everything I've been doing here since day one, and I'm extremely grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on my show today. And, where can the Feuzion follow you on Twitter along with your talk shows and all the great things you're doing at Emerson? So what is your Twitter handle so everyone can go follow you?
I am at Ryan _Ribeiro on Twitter. It's RIB as in boy, EIRO. And my radio show is Colbert and Dubs. The Twitter handle is at Colbert and Dubs, and we're on Facebook and we're on Instagram, and our studio days are Wednesday at 6 p.m. We go live. We're live on Facebook. We're also live on etinradio.org, so you can check us out there. And Alex, I really appreciate you having me on the show. It's been great, and thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I hope to have you on very soon to talk some more MLB offseason, maybe throw some NFL in there and some NBA and NHL, whatever Boston sport is succeeding at the time. I mean, it seems like, all the 4 teams have a shot to maybe have their own parade down in Boston. It's going to be a great time if you're a Boston fan.
Yeah, that would be great. And there's a reason they call this city the City of Champions. So absolutely, I'm sure that there'll be another Boston team succeeding some more in the near future.
Definitely. Thank you again, Ryan, for coming on. And Fuse Nation, I want to say thank you for listening, and I will be seeing you all very soon. And make sure to follow me on Twitter at Alex Fuse. Thanks again for listening, and I will be seeing you all very soon.